All right, welcome back. And let's go ahead and just dive right into Unreal Engine and the viewport and the content browser, details, outliner, everything. So to get started, let's go ahead and move some of our windows around, right? So for now, what we could do on the content browser is we can right click and click close. On the outliner here on the top, we can right click and say dock to sidebar, and same thing with the details panel. So what this gives us is a nice big screen, what we're looking at, and all of our information we need is on the sides. So to move around the editor, we're going to go ahead and right click and hold down right click. We can move our mouse up and down. Try not to make you dizzy. And we could use the WASD keys to go ahead and move around in our world. Now, if you notice that it's going to take us quite a while to get to where we need to be. And that's because our camera speed is set to the default of 1. If you'd like to move around faster, you could go ahead and click and open and move this up to 3 or 8 or something like that, and you can see it move a lot quicker. I'm a big fan of shortcuts, and this will take some time to get to used to, but if you hold down the right mouse button and then you use the mouse wheel to scroll up and down, you can see in this top right hand corner that value change. So in case you are detailing something pretty small and up close, you can go to 0.8, but if you need to move across the map relatively quickly, you can go ahead and hold that right mouse button down and press the scroll wheel up to move quickly. Awesome. There are some other fun things that are here with the viewport. Biggest one to note really here is our direction of what we could look, right? So we have perspective, and that's perspective where our camera is looking. We could go ahead and change that to a top down if we want to, and this is the top down view of our entire map. Pretty crazy. And we could also change to what it looks like. So I could do a top-down view with lit. I can make it unlit, which removes all the lighting. I could do wireframe. I can do lighting only. I can go ahead and look for player collision. What is the player colliding with? A lot of different options here. For now, let's just stick with lit, and we'll go ahead and do top. And you can go ahead and try different aspects of this. Looking up from underneath doesn't really make much sense in our case, but that's okay. You can get a left-hand view. You can get a right-hand view um, front and back. So we're going to go ahead and change it back to perspective, but that's good to know. Most things you'll be working with here are going to be lit or unlit. Unlit comes in handy when we're inside like a really dark space and we haven't added our lighting yet, but we're placing something in our level, whether it be like an actor or a prop. You're trying to place that trash can just perfectly in that super spooky sci-fi corridor. Unlit is probably going to be your friend here. Another thing you could probably look at is the player collision. Uh, Basically, when your player is running into a wall, another object, we need to see what is going to stop the player from moving and what's going to allow the player to continue moving. So, in the future, if you have an instance where, man, my player keeps getting stuck on something, or every time I'm running in this direction, I get hung up on like a branch, you can go ahead and click player collision, and it'll be able to show you what your character is being hung up on, essentially. All right, let's go ahead and move over to the content browser. So right here, we can go ahead on the bottom left-hand side, click content drawer and bring this up. As a shortcut, we can hit the control and space key to bring that up. Optionally, if you would like to, you could go ahead and click the dock to layout button to make sure that this is permanently here and does not move. That's totally fine. I'm a little bit of a fan of keeping this, unless I'm working permanently in it, minimized and just using control and space to go back and forth. For this tutorial series, we're just going to go ahead and dock and layout for now until we move on to the next window. So really quick, we do have a few things here that we could take a look at. We have our favorites and our tutorial beginner and our content folder. These folders here are going to house all of our things that we make, we import, whatever we may do is going to be placed here in these folders. We can go ahead and open up the content folder. There's nothing here. We started a completely blank template, and that's totally fine. When we add anything, we can go ahead and add new folders here. Just as an example, we can right click and add new folder, and we could call this player. We could right click and add a new folder and call this, let's call this platforms. We can right click and add a new one, and we can call this one obstacles. And let's go ahead and add another new folder, and we could call this one collectibles, and you kind of get the gist and the idea. If you want to, you can go ahead and favorite some of these. And to do that, you click on the folder that you want. you can right click and say add to favorites. Now what that does is you can go ahead and click here and click your collectibles, and it'll take you right to that collectibles folder. It's pretty handy when your game gets a little bit bigger and there's a lot going on, and let's say you're part of a larger team and you just kind of need to bookmark where you are at all times. That's a good way to get there is through favorites. Next, what we could talk about really quick is, let me go ahead and remove the favorites really quick. Colors. If you want to color coordinate your folders, you can. You can set them to different things and they will just show up like so. This isn't really widely used that much, in my opinion, but if it helps you, then do it. If you just want to practice, then keep playing around with it. Last thing we want to do here is just take a look at something called filters. So if you see here, we have our filters. And if you click on it, we have a lot of different options for our filters. This comes in handy when we have a bigger project like you import an asset system where, like, let's say you bring in a castle over and all of those castle walls and towers and gates and little planks and bricks and wood, those are all static meshes. And sometimes they might be hard to find exactly what you're looking for. You can go ahead and click here and go to static meshes. And then when this is active, it will only show all of the static meshes in whatever folder that you have selected, if that makes sense. So this comes in handy with bigger projects where you're like, oh, I imported this, but I'm not seeing all the meshes that I imported. You can set this filter and move up a folder structure just to see, like, oh, did I put this in the right spot? Did it get lost? Did something happen? To remove those, we're going to go ahead and click on this, and then we're going to reset our filters and make sure everything's good to go. And the last thing that I want to talk about really quick before we move on to the next section here is if we right click and click this thing called Update Redirector References. So for Unreal Engine, this is going to be kind of like a little bit of a bread and butter for when we move things around. Essentially, when we're locked in here and we add things and content to our engine, we have a file structure that's telling us, like, hey, just let you know, this is where this is located in this file structure. If we move it, sometimes those references break. In order to fix those, after we move it, we just click this handy little button and it'll go ahead and fix those directors for us.